Hello there. Welcome to the class of Broadcast Journalism. We will be concentrating on the first unit called Radio as Broadcast Medium, concentrating all about radio. So let us get introduced to what actual radio is before we get into our modules. So what is radio? It is a device that makes or responds to radio waves. So you should know that radio waves are a part of a larger group of electromagnetic waves. So that is present in light, X-rays and even gamma rays. And these waves have the ability to travel through materials like air, wood, glass, concrete, or even through empty vacuum space. So here, radio waves travel best through empty space. And this channel permits communication so vital to our modern society. So, in this whole unit of radio as broadcast medium, we will be focusing on four different topics, which is broken down into four different modules, where the first module will cover the history and nature of radio. The second module will talk about the different types of transmitters, and the third module will discuss about the microphone and its types, and the final module will teach us all about scripting. So what are we going to do in this first module? We'll be dealing with the history of radio from its origin to its introduction to India. And before we get into the history, we should know that this technology of radio owes its development to two other huge great inventions, which is the telegraph and the telephone. And all these three technologies are closely related, and radio technology actually began as wireless telegraphy. So that is how it was called. So the term radio can either refer to the electronic appliance that we listen to or the content that plays from it, because all of us know we address both the same way. And the whole journey, it started with the discovery of radio waves, as I told you in the beginning. And these electromagnetic waves is the father of all these waves, which has the capacity to transmit music, speech, pictures and other data through air. And what are the devices that operate by electromagnetic waves? That could be radio, microwaves, remote control toys, television, and all that you can see around in your home. So now let us dive into the history of radio. So the global history involves four significant characters or four different phases that we should remember. So the first person who started all this was the Scottish physicist called James Clerk Maxwell, who predicted the existence of radio waves in the beginning. And then it was followed by Guglielmo Marconi, an Italian inventor who proved the feasibility of radio communication. And then it was Lee de Forest, the first person to use the word called radio, and also he provided the electromagnetic radiation detector. And this was the person who introduced the amplitude modulated radio. And finally, what we are using and are very familiar with today, which is the frequency modulated radio, it was introduced by Edwin Howard Armstrong in the year 1933. So, to know about the important events that happened in Indian history related to radio, it dates back to the year of 1923 and 24, where three radio clubs were created in Bombay, Calcutta and Madras. So in 1927, the Indian Broadcasting Service was renamed as All India Radio, and that is continued to be called until today. AIR network had just 6 stations with 18 transmitters, of which 6 was on medium wave and the rest was functioning on short wave. With the 198 broadcasting centers, of which 74 local radio stations were present, it served up to 97.3% of the population during the time of independence. So, yes, I think we learnt about the history of radio quite enough, and now let's know the basic objectives of radio, which has been formed from the day it was introduced and it has been serving until the day now. What are the three main objectives? It is that radio informs, radio educates, and radio entertains. So now let us learn about what exactly is the nature of radio. So it could be many and few are listed here. Radio serves to pass messages. It improves the capability of calling upon. It enlarges the forum for social dialogue, provides effective capacity for building of the community, raises awareness and knowledge of community issues, and brings the people's voice to the higher level of their political structure and mobilize the community. So in whole, we could say that radio is a medium of revolution. So it can bring any amount of change from the very dust to the magnificent one. Now, coming on to the last part of this module, we are going to conclude by learning three of the main different types of advantages of radio. The commonly known advantage is that it can be used very easily for listening while doing other things. Even the poorest of countries can afford to establish radio stations and produce radio programs. And the third one is that radio receivers are also quite cheap and it can be afforded by many people. And it is a very well known fact that even smartphones that we are using today are installed with this internal radio. So batteries can be a problem as they might be expensive and or difficult to find in certain areas. With the progressive introduction and improvement of the wind up radio 2 technology, I think this problem should be greatly reduced. With this, we have come to the end of the first module, learning about the history, its developments, objectives, nature and advantages. I hope all the information shared here was very simple and understandable to you, and I will meet you in another interesting module. Until then, take care.